Every month, millions of middle-class families follow a financial rule they never chose, never questioned, and never once realized was working quietly against their entire future. This rule does not appear in any contract or government document, yet it governs how much these families earn, spend, borrow, and ultimately never build. The rule is simple: borrow what you can afford to repay, keep the payments manageable, and treat debt as a permanent feature of responsible adult financial life. That definition of responsibility is the trap, because a life built around manageable debt is a life built around transferring your income to lenders every single month. Banks did not accidentally create this definition. They engineered it across decades of marketing, regulation, lobbying, and credit scoring systems designed to reward borrowing over saving. The credit score is the clearest proof of this design, because a person with zero debt and substantial savings scores lower than a person actively carrying 6 loan accounts. That scoring logic tells you everything you need to understand about whose interests the modern debt system was originally built to serve across every income level. The average middle-class household carries over $90,000 in combined debt across mortgages, car loans, student loans, credit cards, and ongoing medical financing obligations. That $90,000 is not a crisis by conventional financial standards. It sits within the 36% debt-to-income ratio that most advisors describe as financially healthy. But healthy for whom is the question nobody asks, because that threshold is not a wellness benchmark. It is simply the maximum ratio at which lenders approve new credit. A ratio designed to protect lender profitability has been repackaged as a personal finance guideline, and most middle-class households accepted it without ever questioning the original source. Once you accept that level of debt as normal, the compounding begins, not the compounding that builds wealth, but the kind that steadily transfers it away from you. A credit card balance of $8,000 at 22% interest, paid at minimum installments, takes 11 years and $9,000 in interest to fully eliminate. That 11-year timeline runs alongside your car payment, your mortgage interest, your student loan balance, and medical debt sitting quietly on your credit report beside them. Most households never calculate the combined interest they will pay across every account simultaneously, because that total is large enough to permanently change how anyone thinks about borrowing. Lenders understand that number better than most borrowers do, and they build quarterly profit forecasts around the likelihood that most people will never sit down and calculate it themselves. Beyond the direct cost of interest, there is a second mechanism working against middle-class wealth that almost no mainstream financial conversation ever addresses directly or honestly. Every dollar leaving your household as an interest payment is a dollar that will never enter a compounding investment account and will never build future financial security for your family. A family redirecting $400 monthly from debt payments into an index fund, earning historical average returns, accumulates over $400,000 across 30 years of investing. That $400,000 difference is not created by talent or income level. It is created entirely by where money flows each month inside a household budget. This is the mechanism behind the wealth gap that studies consistently document between the top 10% and the middle class across every developed economy on Earth. The gap is not an income gap, it is a cash flow gap, where one group builds assets and another sends identical dollars toward lenders every month. Understanding that distinction changes the entire framing of the problem, because the solution is not earning more money, but redirecting existing money toward fundamentally different financial destinations. But here is where the trap becomes self-reinforcing in a way that most financial education completely fails to explain to the people who need it most. Research shows that carrying persistent debt measurably reduces cognitive capacity for financial decision-making, a finding documented by behavioral economists across multiple university studies and income groups. The financial stress created by chronic debt consumes mental bandwidth that would otherwise be available for long-term planning, investment research, and the behavioral discipline that wealth accumulation requires. This means debt is not only costing you money through interest, it is simultaneously reducing your mental capacity to make the decisions that would actually help you escape it. Credit limit increase offers are consistently timed to moments when spending data signals that a household is under financial stress or experiencing income disruption of some kind. The system offers you more borrowing capacity at the exact moment you are most likely to use it in a way that deepens the constraint around your financial future. Most middle-class households respond to financial pressure by taking on more debt rather than cutting consumption, because borrowing feels painless while reducing lifestyle feels uncomfortable and socially visible. This behavioral pattern is documented across income levels and remains one of the primary reasons household debt increases during economic downturns rather than declining as logic would suggest. Consumer culture reinforces this continuously because marketing budgets of every major retail, automotive, and financial services company are calibrated to the spending psychology of middle-income earners. When a household eliminates one debt category, lifestyle inflation and targeted marketing typically produce a new debt obligation within 18 months of reaching a zero balance. Behavioral finance researchers call this the debt reset pattern, and it affects over 70% of households that eliminate debt without restructuring the spending identity that created it. The spending identity is more powerful than any budget because budgets describe behavior, while identity determines the beliefs that produce every spending decision a person makes automatically. Changing the budget without changing the identity produces only temporary results, which is why the same household can eliminate and recreate identical debt structures multiple times across one decade. The households that permanently exit the debt cycle share one distinguishing characteristic: they stopped managing debt more efficiently and started treating total debt elimination as a non-negotiable identity shift. That shift reframes every financial decision from how can I afford the payments to how quickly can I eliminate every payment and redirect every dollar toward building lasting assets. Once a household reaches genuine zero consumer debt, the mathematics of compounding shift entirely in their favor, and the same income that funded lender profits begins building generational wealth. The rule that kept them trapped was never a law. It was a belief that debt is simply the permanent and unavoidable price of adult life. The moment that belief breaks, the trap opens, and everything the middle class was told was impossible begins to look like the most obvious decision they